doing that.
Back this way.
Let's be respectful for these guys going up next. They are not going to sit down, so they're just going to start. Try to pay attention to whatever context might be.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm calling to say goodbye.
Oh.
It's just, well,
Look, I'm in the middle of something. Can I give you a call back?
I'm sorry. If it's more important, just forget about it.
Wait. It's okay. Go on. You were saying?
I said, if you're busy, I'll call back.
I just said it's okay.
It isn't okay. It's never okay. I'm calling to say something important, and you're telling me you're in the middle of something. You're always in the middle of something.
Whoa, just hold it. Just calm down. There's no need to get worked up.
I'm calm. I'm very calm.
Okay, good. I'm listening. So, are you going on a trip? Hello? Hello? Okay.
Any ideas, context? Maybe even just the relationship between the two of them?
Seems like he's the bad guy now instead of the other person.
I wanted to, bro.
Yeah,
You sound pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the doghouse.
Yeah, for real.
Seems like it's a toxic relationship.
What kind of relationship?
Aggressive one.
Okay, any other guesses, anyone? Anyone want to say anything else?
It's a clean relationship.
Oh.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Do you guys want to go ahead and tell them what yours was?
Who said sibling? You said sibling?
I say sibling.
No, who said a relationship seems like a sibling? Because if you're kind of on the nail, if you
I
did.
said aggressive.
Oh, you said
Oh,
aggressive?
I heard
heard
sibling too. I heard sibling too. That's
You
why.
said aggressive?
I said aggressive.
Really?
Yeah. Because the way she was acting towards you, it seemed like more aggressive. But I mean, if it's sibling, then yeah, that it
Yeah, it's family.
makes sense because
Family.
siblings fighting, that's normal.
I heard sibling. I was like, man, that's quick. I was like, good guess.
It's an annoying teenager.
I know one of y'all said it. Somebody said it over there. But, thank y'all.
Hi. Hi. I'm calling to say goodbye.
Oh,
It's just,
look, I'm in the middle of something. May I call you back?
I'm sorry. If it's more important, just forget about it.
Wait, it's okay. Go on. You were saying?
I said if you're busy, I'll call back.
I just said it's okay.
It isn't okay. It's never okay. I'm calling you to say something important. You're telling me you're in the middle of something? You're always in the middle of something.
Just hold on. Let's just calm down. There's no need to get worked up.
I'm calm. I'm very calm.
Good. I'm listening. So, you're going on a trip? Hello? Hello?
Man, I can't answer without you. Come on, can say something.
So, that's
mom and daughter.
Okay.
I was getting like toxic best friends, like best friends with a very strained relationship at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were best friends. But we were thinking about
We were
that.
thinking
Yeah.
about the mom thing.
I guess I can't say something. I said business partners. You had the whole foot up for the seat. And
Yeah, you
business
look
partners
good.
were there.
Then I was supposed to be like, yeah, I'm busy. Just like the coolest best friend, just kind of just like, oh, never doing anything.
Yeah, as you can see, kind of based on how people say things, their body language, and their facial expressions, you can get very different ideas than what it actually, what it actually is. And good actors can make it obvious what it is. And I think all of us did a really good job. So thank you guys.
We need these chairs.
He needs that chair. I will take this chair. Great.
Oh, thank you. Try to do a real song.
Alright, so you guys are starting to talk about acting, and the most important thing about film acting as opposed to theater acting is understand that less is more, okay? That's the main thing with film acting, less is more. When people are up here, like, being very, animated and stuff like this, you don't do that in film. It's gonna look crazy. You don't need to project, right? Like the first video you watch. Projecting is something you do in theater because the audience is far away. So we have to project. You need to make sure the person in the back of the balcony knows what's going on. But on film, the camera's right here. The camera's right here, and we have those things. Those project for you. Project your face 5.5 feet tall. Okay? So when you are starting to, and I'm going to delve a little bit into directing as well, okay? Because that's more my forte. Kevin's the actor. I'm more of a technical director, but I also understand that the most important relationship you have as a director in a movie is working with your talent. 100%, that's the most important relationship, okay? Now, a lot of you guys don't know how to direct yet, and that's okay. For those of you that are in the film degree, you'll have, if you haven't had it, we're bringing directing into project and portfolio 1 and 2, and there will be a day where I sit there with the director and actually guide them in directing a scene. And we tried it for the first time this month, and I'll tell you what, it was amazing, because what we did was we sat there and I guided him through the process, and we discovered so much with our actors that it was wonderful. And it's a scene. It's a shitty scene. It's a really shitty scene. But we made it something interesting. And the actors, we do a cold read where the actors read it for the first time, and then we perform a little bit as we go. But the last read they did was night and day. So, actors, what can you do to give a good performance in film? And this is kind of general acting at this point, but listen. That's the most important thing you can do, is listen to your scene partner. Because, the reacting is half of acting, right? It's not just delivering your lines. It's listening to somebody and watching. How many times in a movie do we watch somebody reacting to what somebody else is saying off screen? We watch it all the time. We have a term for that, L&J cuts. That's how the editing term for doing that, okay? So, you want to keep it subtle. Less is more. Forgot where I was going with that. Hang on, let me get back on track. So yeah, you want to work, actors, you want to understand your characters. You don't want to just play what you think they're feeling, okay? I am angry, so I'm going to act angry, right? That's not how it works. Why are you angry? What's making you angry? What is upsetting you? What has somebody done to you, and how do you feel about it, right? That's a technique that Ron Howard uses that he calls get to the why. Why are you doing this? And they'll say, there's a scene that I always do when I do a directing demonstration, where I say, why are you doing this? Well, because I don't want to lose them as a friend. Well, why don't you want to lose them as a friend? Well, because I have a fear of rejection. That's the thing. Basic human emotions, that's what we want to get to, okay? And when we're performing those, again, you don't need to project. You can whisper in film. The microphone's right here. You're going to be heard, you're going to be seen, okay? A twitch of the cheek, a quiver of the lip, a single tear, or even your eyes welling up with tears. That reads on screen much in a way that you cannot possibly do on stage, okay? So directors, those of you that want to be, who wants to direct stuff? Okay. Who wants to be actors? The same people, okay. Interesting. Directors, you need to understand your talent, right? This is, and maybe we'll do a demonstration one day, where we can do, where I do this. And that way the people who are not in Project Portfolio 1 and 2 can actually see how we do this. But you want to talk to your actors and ask them a lot of questions. You don't want to tell your actors anything, right? Ray Fiennes was talking about working with David Cronenberg on the movie Spider. And he said it was the best direction he ever got because he didn't direct anything. What Cronenberg did was ask him lots of questions. How old are you? Like, when was the last time you washed your clothes? When was the last time you shaved? You know, what's in your pocket? Is there a hole in your jacket? Like, just those types of questions. And getting to understand the character, and it's a conversation. Because here's the thing that people don't understand, especially people who are just starting. Directing is a collaboration. It's not an oligarchy. You don't tell people what to do. You don't say, okay, I want you to cry in this scene. That's the worst thing you could do, and that's called result directing. If you want to be an actor and a director, I highly recommend picking up the book Directing Actors by Judith Weston. It's an amazing book. Just chapter 1 is amazing, and it talks about result direction, how to avoid it, and it goes into more detail later. Yeah.
What's the name of the book?
Directing Actors. Yeah. And again, Judith Weston is the name. It's available on Amazon. I have the digital. I have the Kindle version. Wasn't cheap. It's not a cheap book, but yeah, it's totally worth a read. So yeah, directing, it's a collaboration. All right. Have you ever worked with somebody that told you to do something and you did it, right? And that was all well and good. But then think about, have you ever worked with somebody who inspired you to do better than what you were just asked to do, right? We've all been there. We've all had that people. I had an experience when I was working in special effects, where we were working with a first AD, right? And his first AD was an asshole. Okay, he was just a jerk. And we were doing, part of the special effect that I was doing was we had fireworks, okay? And we set up a whole finale. We had 6 finale strings of fireworks, so like 6 one-minute finales that we set up for this shot. And the director had chosen a lens that he was going to use on the camera, so we knew the angle of view and we knew how high the fireworks needed to go off. So we bought the proper size fireworks for it, and so we were good. When they did the test shot, they didn't roll camera, but I was at Video Village, and they fired off the fireworks, and they went right off the top of frame, went way out of frame. It turns out the director decided he didn't like the angle, put a longer lens on, and totally changed the view of the shot, so the fireworks were going out of the frame. Not even thinking about that, the first AD, and pardon my language here, but this is what he said: "What the fuck is wrong with you people? You're fucking up our whole shoot. Get it fucking fixed or you're done." Okay. Screw you, but okay. What we ended up doing was something that was dangerous. That we took into account the danger with it, and we talked to the fire department, and we got our blast area extended, and we took the fireworks and angled them back 45 degrees, so they would go up at an angle and break lower.
Oh no.
Not the safest thing to do. I mean, we did it safely, right? We did it safely. Once the first shot was done, that guy came back and was like, "Oh my God, you guys are so awesome! You are the best! I can't wait to work with you guys again." I'm like, "You don't work with me again."
Double-edged sword.
So contrast that with this dude named Steve-O, not the Steve-O, but there's a first AD in Pittsburgh named Steve-O. And Steve-O was like the nicest dude in the face of the planet. He was the coolest guy. And he was like that person, like he's always encouraging you, always being like really happy and fun to work with. And like, you know, he was just like the nicest guy. And you wanted to make Steve-O happy. Because he was just that guy, you know? You was like, wow, he inspired us to do better. And we did better work for Steve-O than we did for that jerk all the time, right? So you got to think about, like, you know, how do you want to be treated as an actor? You need to treat your actors like that as a director. You know, collaborating is all you do, whether it is with your actors, with your production designer, with your DP. You know, everything you do as a director is collaboration. Okay? Getting into some things that you want to avoid as a director, you want to avoid a thing called result direction. Okay? And that is telling your actor the result. I want you to be sad. I want you to be happy. I want you to feel this or that. I want you to feel blank is bad. Okay? If I want you to feel anything, if it's bad, you need to talk to your actors. And you start off by asking questions, okay? And then you like it changes until you're having a conversation with them, right? And I know you're probably thinking, like, well, if I'm just asking questions, how do I get what I want, right? Guys, the person in a conversation who's asking the questions has the power of the conversation, okay? You need to figure out ways to ask your actors questions that make them answer them in the way you want them to answer. And that's something that takes practice. It's something I'm pretty good at, but it's something that just takes practice to do. Always ask open-ended questions when you're talking to your actors. So don't be like, you know, this, you know, did this happen, you know, I can't even think of anything. That really upset you when they did that to you, right? Well, yeah, the answer is yes. But instead of that, say, how did it feel when they did this to you? See that? What a huge difference that is? Yeah.
So what if it's not the director that's the hard one to work with, but it's the actor? What do you do then?
Well, first thing, hopefully you figure that out in casting and don't hire them. That's the most important thing. Because one of the things that you look for in casting is between two actors, a thing called chemistry. You want chemistry between your actors. But you also need to see how your chemistry with you as a director are going to work as well. So that's the first thing. Hopefully you don't cast that. But if that does happen, it's uncomfortable, but you have to just work through it. You have to collaborate still. If your actor's not giving you what you want, tell them that, and kind of get where you want to go and use their language. Some actors do want result. Some actors are like, how am I supposed to feel, right? It's not the best, but you're not going to get a good performance out of it. But you know, you can tell them that. You know, and sometimes, like, you know, people who hate each other do the most amazing stuff on screen. The Notebook. Was it Ryan Gosling and Amy McAdams? Or Amy, what's her name? Amy McAdams?
Is it Rachel?
Rachel
McAdams?
Rachel McAdams. There we go. I didn't know. They had the most beautiful on-screen chemistry, but they hated each other, and it was made a very uncomfortable thing on set. So sometimes, you know, tough to work with gets trumped by are they good at what they do. If they're tough to work with and they're bad at what they do, get rid of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Say, I have pretty much the same question, but
I'm going to give you the same answer.
But what if the studio is pushing for an actor to be against your own wishes, but you know that they're difficult to work with?
Then it depends how if you have to make choices at that point. Am I willing to die on this hill? Am I willing to take a calculated risk by saying, no, I will not do that with this actor and possibly get replaced, right? You have to make that choice. You can fight for what you want, or you can say, that's not a hill I'm willing to fight on, I'll find a way to work with that actor and do it. In that case, you know, you still treat them with respect. You still treat them as though, you know, because they are doing work for you. And you still direct them as nicely as you can. Then you just don't talk to them. You know, I mean, I've seen that on set where people they do their thing and then they go away. And they do their thing and they go away. It's very uncomfortable, and hopefully you don't have to deal with that, but you will at some point. Yeah.
So is it more like a
problems don't happen that often.
No, the reason I say that is because you were saying when a director and actor kind of, I guess, mesh is a, you said a small word, but
Yeah,
like beginning terms, and then actor and actor actually have chemistry.
Yeah.
So the director has delegated half of, I need you to do this, but I'm not just gonna tell you straight how to do it. Like, someone would just give a command, they want you to learn from what they're asking you. Like a friend would ask you a simple question, they want your feedback.
Yeah, and the thing is, so you do ask that. You ask questions of your actor, and if they're not giving you the answer that you want, that's fine. Say, you have a choice at that point, right? An actor's not giving you an answer that you want. You can say, no, that's not what I'm looking for, let's try this instead. And kind of re-guide them a little bit. And at that point, you can probably say a statement to them rather than a question. But the thing is, and this is the key about being a collaborator, is when they give you an answer you don't like, don't just say that's not what I have in mind, it's not good. Never say that. I was doing a scene where there were two romantic partners. It was a romantic scene. There was a girl who's dating somebody and a guy that wants to date her, and and like I had two actors volunteer, and they weren't feeling, the girl just was not feeling the romantic thing, right? And I'm like, that's an interesting take on the scene, we're gonna go with that. And we went there. And at the end of the scene, the girl literally goes up to the guy telling him, please, I want you to say what you have to say to me. He's like, not saying anything. And usually when I do that, it's the subtext to the line is, I love you, please say you love me back. That's what the subtext of the line is. In that version, I told her to threaten him. Threaten him with that. Intimidate the hell out of him so he doesn't say it. And it worked. And that's using a technique called action verbs, right? Intimidate, ignore, this, that. Those are things that we can use. Those are things we can use to avoid result direction. That's doing that. So sometimes it creates something really interesting. As a director, as an artist or as a person, if you have a vision for something and something comes along that's different from your vision, but like if you have the humility and the wherewithal to step back from your world and look at that and say, shit, that's better. I'm gonna do that. It's no less on you as a director. In fact, it's more on you as a director. You're choosing to incorporate that idea into your film or into the scene or whatever you're doing. So that's an important part of being a collaborator. Now that being said, you don't have to take every idea that comes along. If I really wanted to, I could have said, no, we're going to play this differently, and then I would have gone down a different path. But it was an interesting, and I took that, as soon as she said that, I'm like, I've done this scene 50 times with different actors. And some people have been reluctant to do everybody's reluctant to do romantic scenes. It is what it is. I said, we're going to do something different with this one. And it turned out awesome. It turned out to be one of the best versions of that scene that I've ever directed. So, yeah. The most important thing, and if you have questions, please feel free to ask me questions, because I'm going to tell you like one really important thing, and then I kind of want to open up to for you guys to ask questions, a lot of questions. The most important thing you can do as a director is make it a safe place for your actors. Okay? They're opening themselves up to you. Okay? They're opening themselves up in front of a camera, in front of 40 people in this room. Okay? That's intimidating. And if they are comfortable, because acting is just making choices. Okay? If they're comfortable, then they're going to make different choices than they probably would have made if they're, being reined in a little bit. So they may take more chances, and that could be magical. Okay? So the most important thing, both in rehearsal and on the set, physically and metaphorically, make it a safe place for your actors. That's the most important thing you do as a director. Okay? So you guys have, what other questions you guys have? Oh shit. Okay, here we go.
How would you get an actor out of that state?
Out of what?
Like that state of being.
Like being, just talk to them, and talking about their character, ask them about how their day is, just get them to loosen up, in real life, and they'll loosen up on screen as well. You can just take them aside, ask them, are you okay? Like, ask them what's going on inside their head, and maybe you can assuage, yeah, whatever, their concerns by talking to them that way. So that's what I would do. Again, asking questions of your actor. Are you okay? What do you need from me? Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
How many times do you think would be good to rehearse like the script with your actor?
Probably like once or twice. The reason I say that is you rehearse it like 5 or 6 times. They're going to get into the emotion of it, and they're not going to be in the moment. The first time that a scene ever happens is sometimes the most magical because there's spontaneity there, and you want to maintain that spontaneity. So what I would say is have a rehearsal with your talent, and what you can do before that rehearsal is talk to your talent individually. Talk to them about their character, talk to them about the scene, and then you get the actors together, talk about like their relationship to each other, that type of thing, and then play the scene and see where you go. And then after they play the scene, you make your adjustments. Probably play it one more time with the adjustments, because that's an important thing. You need to see if your actor see how your actor responds to direction. That's the thing that happens in casting as well. Like you know, even if your actor nails it in casting, you direct them to do something else because you want to see how well they respond to direction, even if it's not what you want, right? What was your question again? I think I lost myself.
It was just like, how many times should you?
Oh, how many? Oh, yeah. So, you don't want to overdo it, right? And you never want to get to the point where your actors aren't listening, right? Because that's the most important thing, guys. As an actor, listen and react. You know the line you're about to say. That's an unfortunate thing. In real life, in a real conversation, do you know what's going to come out of your mouth next? No. You have to stop and think about it for a moment, right? Incorporate that. Make that real life something that happens in your acting too. Because like the video said, acting in front of a camera is so real. You don't have to project. You don't have to give anything. You just have to live in the moment and actually be in the moment. And how you get there is totally up to you. There's many different types of acting. There's method acting, there's Meisner. Those are the 2 big ones. You have options of how to go about it as an actor, but ultimately what you want is a true performance where you're listening and reacting naturally. That's the most important thing. And that's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing. It's so hard as an actor because obviously you need to know your lines, right? As an actor, the hardest thing is to listen to something as though it's the first time you heard it and say the words as though it's the first time you're saying it. That's the hardest thing, in my opinion. And what I do, when I do workshops and when I do it in class, I do these little 1-page scenes that take about a half hour, 45 minutes to direct. We do 3 reads, sometimes more, but we'll do a read, a cold read. They're not even acting, they're just reading the lines, so everybody knows what the lines are. Then we talk about the scene. Then we play the scene, again, directed. I give them adjustments, and I take the scripts away. And then I tell them, don't play the lines. Don't play the lines, play the emotions of the scene. And 99% of the time, that's the best version of the scene. It may not be the exact words, but that's the best version of the scene. And they may even skip over entire sections of the script. That happens all the time. But ultimately, that's always the best, asterisk, almost. Always the best. Sometimes it just turns into a cluster and you're like, okay, cut, for the love of God, cut. But that's the most true one because literally you have no option but to listen and react in that instance, right? This is why improv is a big thing. We do, there's improv games that you can play that just loosen you up a little bit. It's something simple as zip zap zop, if you know what that is. It's like the standard improv warm-up exercise, right? So zip zap zop or word at a time story or something like that. You can just play these games, and it's not to be funny. Granted, a lot of the time the results are funny, and that's how hell, Whose Line Is It Anyway? Is literally improv comedy. But improv does not necessarily mean funny. Improv can mean drama too, and it's just that getting in the groove of listening and reacting So, you know, maybe that would be something that, you know, in the future, one of these we can do, we like split up into 2 groups and do a game of Zip Zap Zop or something.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I want to do the student council that, right?
Okay.
Also actors, so, my question is it better to use improv actors? Because I found it more useful by using improv actors than using, just finding a different actor. So when I like put out the time on Facebook and everything, my best actors is always been improv actors.
That's because they listen. There's a reason for it. There's a reason they're the best, because they actually listen. They may not be the best actor, but they're the best listener, and that's what makes their performance genuine, right? So yeah, I mean, like, if you have, like, you want an improv actor who can stick to the script though too. Yeah, that's really important. But yeah, if they have an improv background, it's huge, and you just said it. Like, you know, they're the best ones sometimes.
Yes.
Big sometimes. Yeah.
So how do you direct inexperienced actors or child actors?
Okay, so I don't really have experience with child actors, but I have plenty of experience with inexperienced actors. And what you need to do is there's going to be a lot of bring it in, bring it back, you know, make it smaller, which is kind of resulty. So you try not to do that. That's kind of last result, because inexperienced actors, most of them come from stage. Okay, they're going to project, right? You got to rein that in. You got to bring it in, but what you do is you talk to them. They may not know what kind of direction they like yet, so try a couple different things on them. Try, you know, start asking questions. And some people like to work more method. What method is working from the inside out, right? It's taking an experience that you've had in your life, right, and true experience that you've had, and reliving it through the lens of this scene. That's called sense recall, okay? Some people, if you want to talk about their real life, you can do that. Other people, they can just do it with like Meisner, which is outside in, where you kind of like respond to external stimuli. So like, just talk to your actors. Talk to them. First of all, they're going to be nervous, okay? Get them to understand why they're doing what they're doing in the scene. And there's things you can do to make the scene a little bit more spicy though too. Like, you can have conflicting objectives. Tell this person you want to do this, tell this person you want to do this, and those things clash, and see how they play it, right? Action verbs, right? You know, intimidate, or I love this one, flirt. Flirt with them. And I guarantee that provides a very interesting result. So, yeah, I mean, like, you don't treat them that much different than any other actor, but understand you may have to come to it with several different approaches. So, yeah. Any other questions? I'm liking this. Well, son of a bitch, you guys have gotten quiet. Okay, here we go. What's that?
Voice actors. Let's say.
Totally different.
Totally different. Let's say somebody decides to go into an acting career.
All right, so, well, voice actors, depends where they're coming from with voice acting. If they're playing dramatic roles in animated stuff, or doing stuff in video games and stuff like that, you may need to, they're probably going to be very physical when they perform, because if you ever seen a voice actor perform, they're into it, right? So you may need to bring them back as well. Hopefully they'll understand, because most voice actors can act. I mean, you know, it's harder because they don't have this to emote with, right? They have to do it all through their voice, and so that's a special skill and a very challenging thing to do. So, you know, sometimes in doing that they get over animated, and so in real life you're gonna have to say, like, okay, we want to stop doing so much of this or that or something like that. Because when an actor does like pound a table or something like that, that's called indicating, and indicating is terrible on film. Indicating is like one of the worst things, because that's like saying, I feel angry, you know? Nobody says, I feel angry, right? So indicating is something we want to avoid, avoid as well. There's so many things we want to avoid. Honestly, just remember when you're acting for film, less is more, okay? Now, unless you're doing like a Jim Carrey type comedy, in that case, more is more. But in most dramatic scenes on film, because those of you that are in the film program, what type of shot are we in if it's a really dramatic scene? Close up, not extreme. Most dramatic shot is a close-up. An extreme close-up accentuates that drama, but existing by itself, it is not a dramatic shot. Okay? So yeah, we're in a close-up, right? And I can't remember where I was going with this shit. Oh, yeah.
Can I show the example when you're done?
Yeah, I'll set it up. So this, this is a perfect example of less is more. Okay, this isn't, Javier Bardem is intimidating as hell in this scene. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't yell. He doesn't say anything. He just talks very low the whole time. All right, and it's absolutely fascinating to watch him because if you come in screaming, "I'm gonna fucking kill you," blah blah blah, right? Like that's not. It's cartoonish. It's just cartoonish. It looks bad. But because what's the threat there? What's the threat? I know he's going to stab me. So where's the subtext? Where's the threat at that point, right? With something like this, what's intimidating about this is what he's not showing you. It's you feel like he can blow his top at any moment in this scene. And that's what's scary. And that tension carries over for the whole scene, and that's what makes the scene interesting. Right? So yeah, go ahead and play it.
How much? 69 cents. And the gas? Y'all get any money? What way would that be? I seen he was from Dallas. What business is it of yours? Where are you from? Fredo.